Guys, over the years, I have made a lot of people extremely upset because I don't accept whatever I'm told as being fact. If it comes from the left, if it comes from the right, if it comes from in the middle, I don't just accept what I'm told as being factual. I look at everything as suspect because we've been lied to so much and we'll continue to be lied to. And the manipulation and the lies now have gotten even more sophisticated. They're using the internet, they're using AI, they're using radio, television, they're using everything to manipulate, to control the masses. And if you just accept whatever you see because it aligns with your preconceived notions, preconceived beliefs, or it's what you want to think is fact, so you accept it without question, then that's not a good position to be in, because you can be manipulated, lied to, manipulated, and twisted to do things you don't want to do, or believe things you should not to believe. And I don't accept anything at just face value. If I see it on the news, most likely it's not true. If a politician says it, no matter if it's in the right or the left, it's probably not true, it's probably been manipulated, it's probably got some elements of truth, but a whole lot of lies to manipulate and control the people. But if you just look at history, his story, that should give you pause when it comes to believing anything we see now. Because if you look at what we were taught in school about history, most of that has been proven now to be complete, utter bullshit. But they're still teaching, a lot of that in school. Like, say, when I was going to school, I remember being taught that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Christopher Columbus came on the 3 ships, came to America. He discovered America. In reality, he never stepped foot in what we call the United States. He made it to the Caribbean and somewhere in South America. I can't remember exactly where he made it to in South America. But as far as coming to the United States, where we celebrate Columbus Day here in the United States, of him discovering America, it isn't true at all. The Vikings, there's a whole lot more proof that the Vikings discovered America, the Americas, before Columbus did. I think it was like 500 years before Columbus did. But we're not taught that in school. Another example is that the Pilgrims and the Native Americans got along great. They had this big feast together. Everything was just happiness. And there's no proof whatsoever at all that actually ever happened. Most likely, it never happened, because we had these foreigners came into the United States, or to the Americas then, and the Native Americans were already here, or the natives were already here. Even these names were given later on. More than likely, there were hostilities, because they brought a lot of disease. A lot of native people perished. So more than likely, that Thanksgiving dinner never happened between the Native Americans and the Pilgrims. You look at things like World War II, wars and things, they're full of falsehoods, full of manipulation, full of lies. Just like we were taught, and there's people still being taught, that Adolf Hitler died in the bunker. Adolf Hitler took cyanide and shot himself, died in the bunker. No proof whatsoever at all that actually ever happened. His body was never found. They say that when the Russians went into Berlin, that they found a body that had been burnt outside of Hitler's bunker, that they were told was Hitler. And later on, the skull was tested. I think it was the same one, and that they thought Russia had it all these years, and it was finally tested, and they thought it was Adolf Hitler, or everyone is told that it was, because they wanted to put an end to Adolf Hitler in the history books. And so they could say in the newspapers and things at the time and on the radio that Adolf Hitler was dead, died in the bunker, even though there was no proof whatsoever at all that that was actually the case. And that skull they had was actually tested a few years ago, and it turned out to be a female. So definitely not Adolf Hitler. It could have been someone that was in the bunker. It could have been Hitler's wife that was in the bunker with him to commit suicide. I mean, there's so many things that we're not told. We were told that, you know, a lot of the Nazis were put on trial. Pretty much, they try to tell us that all the Nazis were rounded up and put on trial, but so many of those actually made it out of Germany and escaped to Argentina. And there's a lot more proof that Adolf Hitler actually escaped Berlin before the Russians came in and escaped to Argentina also. There's a lot more proof of that, if you look into it, than Hitler committing suicide and dying in the bunker. I mean, we've been fed so many lies. I was watching a documentary the other day. They were talking about the Wild West. And practically everything that we see about the Wild West in these Western programs is false. You know, we see that they will have the bars where they serve the whiskey, they have the gambling, you go upstairs and you get the prostitutes, the bar maidens that's selling sex. But in reality, these were usually, I think, actually always separated. But they were brought together in these westerns to make the show easier. These made-for-television westerns. But you would have, you know, a prostitution brothel, you would have the bar, you would have gambling, but they were separate locations. And we also see everyone carrying guns, carrying handguns in town. Usually, that wasn't the case. They had to turn those firearms in to the sheriff because they knew people coming in, having firearms, gambling, women, drinking, could cause problems. So they had gun control. And most people would turn their guns in to be able to go into the bars, to go in and gamble, to go in and have a romp with the prostitutes. So that was completely false. They also show, you know, everyone going out in the street and meeting at high noon and the fastest draw wins. Bullshit too. It never was that way. Those people then were like people now. They didn't go out and meet face to face. They would be hiding behind a tree somewhere and you passed by and pop. That's the way it happened. And that's the way that it was. But we're not shown that on television with these westerns and things. So, more ingrained lies. I mean, I could go on all day talking about different lies and things we've been told. In fact, you know, I have over here, I pulled up an article, and it has different historical facts that aren't actually facts. We've been taught they were facts, but they're not facts. But they will still tell us that they're facts. Slavery only happened in the South. You know, those southern states, those racist Southerners owned the slaves. And the truth is, many associate slavery with the South. But the truth is that slavery existed in every colony before the Revolutionary War. In fact, Massachusetts was the first colony to legalize slavery. And New York had over 1,600 slaves in 1720. Equally upsetting is the fact that George Washington and Thomas Jefferson both owned slaves. And this is a huge list under here, guys, of historical things that aren't true. Like Thomas Edison inventing the light bulb, and they say in this article here that the proof is that there were like 20 inventors working on the project to invent the light bulb. He just took credit for what Edison did. Declaration of Independence was signed on July the 4th, 1776. In reality, it was signed in August of 1776. We've been taught so many things that aren't true. George Washington had wooden teeth. We've been taught that, and there's really no proof of that. He had bad teeth, but as far as any wooden teeth goes, there's no basis for that whatsoever. Paul Revere rode horseback through the streets of Massachusetts yelling, "The British are coming, the British are coming." We were taught that in school, and more than likely, that never happened. More than likely, he was going through telling people quietly and secretly what was going on, what was about to happen, because there was a lot of British loyalists in the colonies then, and you wouldn't be going through just riding through screaming the British are coming. And they didn't really call the British because a lot of those people then considered themselves to get British, and they called the people there. They said at the time he would have used the term regulators to warn patriots about the invasion. So regulators, what he was calling the British soldiers as regulators. So many things. I mean, if you look into it, complete, utter, total bullshit. And if you look at politics, recent politics, so many lies, so much manipulation, and yet people will believe exactly what they're told if it fits their narrative, if it is on the right or the left. And we're told, no, they're like the left, believing anything they're told about Donald Trump without actually looking into it. And they have said a lot of stuff about Donald Trump that wasn't true, but the left wanted to believe it, so they accepted it themselves. And the liberal left media will cut up, clips and things, and put clips together of videos and end at a certain point, and then put their narrative in to spin it to make it look like Donald Trump said this and whatever when he really didn't. And the same thing on the other side. We have people on the right that want to believe wholeheartedly, without question, everything that they're told. And neither anyone at all should be believing what we're told. We should all look at it as being completely suspect and treat it as a lie until it's proven 100% factual. But guys, believing whatever you're told, accepting it at face value because you want to believe it, that is 100% way to be taken in by, say, the Antichrist. You will accept it as being factual because you want to believe it. If you look at everyone and everything as being suspect until it's proven otherwise, and not just one thing. If you prove one thing as being fact and something else comes up, you have to look at that the same way, because you can't just believe what you're told, what you're shown. History, politics, left, right, we're manipulated. We're manipulated